Move on. Yeah. Call the special council meeting to approve and set the proposed fiscal year 2024-25 millage rate. Going down, Blanche. Yeah, we're just going to get right into it. We'll do the prayer pledge and invocation at the general council meeting.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. I'm going to try to make this as quick and painless as I possibly can. Would have been great to have a prayer before, but let's go into it. Just want to give you an overview of where we currently stand for the FY 24-25 budget after the workshops and all of the comments and inputs and requests from commissioners and the mayor. The attempt here, of course, what we need to do is approve the proposed FY 24-25 millage rate setting. We need to set the rate tonight. Okay. Just want to give you an overview of the key revenue increases that we have incorporated in the budget. We're looking, and this is without the millage rate increase right now, of the ad valorem taxes of 4.9, utility tax for the electric about 1.1, building permits 1.9, state revenue sharing 628,000, sales tax 1.9, engineering fees 1.2, recreation activity for the programs that they have 159,000, and interest and dividends $1 million. So a total of 12.9. We started with the general fund of about 89.8 million, with the use of reserves about 8.1 million. We're incorporating another 1.7 in the millage rate increase, going to the 0.25, and that is to have a contingency for the firefighters union, and another 1.5 increase in the millage to have funds transferred, additional funds transferred to the streets fund. And other items that have been incorporated as a result of the workshops and input from the mayor and commissioners is an additional 455,000. And you see that both on the revenue and the expenditure side of the general fund. This list is a detail of those additional changes. As you can see, any additional changes at this point comes as a result of an increase in the use of those reserves, and these are excess reserves over our 25% reserve per policy. I know there probably will be some questions on that, but I want to go through the presentation and we can come back if needed. This slide shows you the source of those reserves and how we're using them. Our policy allows us to assign capital reserves, and the remaining balance was about 4 million. So those are the items that are being applied towards that 4 million. We have committed reserves. One of those is the tree bank. So we plan to spend 500,000 in this budget, and so the source of that will come out of those committed reserves. The unassigned reserves that are in excess of the 25%, we're using about 3.9 of that for the various reasons listed. 2.6 going to streets, 475 for the additional 5% for the firefighters union, a carryover amount of 80,000 related to those COVID funds, and 251 for the equipment for the 10 new police officers, and the additional request from the commissioners about 455, 157. Another view of how the source of the reserves, starting with our audited financial statements, reserve balances as of FY 2023. The unassigned was 34.6 million. We used 200 out of planned reserves, and we did about 4.2 in budget amendments of that unassigned. And the 3.9 is for FY 25, which I just shared with you on the previous slide, that 3.903939. As mentioned before, the reserve policy allows us to assign reserves for capital purposes for one-time capital purchases. As of FY '23, that amount was $16,742,716. I presented the budget to you last year, we used about 8.1 of that for planned use of those reserves. We've had budget amendments about 4.5, and in FY '25, we're using another 4.1. At this point, exhausting that capital reserve. And again, you see the 500K that I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to go into the utility operating fund, but I don't know if there's any questions at this point in regards to the general fund before I go into the utility operating fund
Okay, any questions on the general fund?
from the commissioners.
I'll just wait till you
Okay.
get through this.
Wonderful.
Well, we're going to go into utilities now, right?
Yeah, I'm going to
So
utilities, but I'm
this is
coming back.
where you want to ask your questions on the general funds. I mean, one of the things I think there's been some misinformation out there about that our reserves, we're wasting away our reserves. Our reserves are still above the 25% threshold that was put into place several
Yes, sir.
years ago.
Yes,
So our reserves are still going up. We're not going
Yes.
down. Okay.
yes. In the general fund, yes.
Okay.
I think, but I believe the concern is that, as our city manager had pointed out, is that every year the trend seems to be that we go into the reserves to balance the general fund, and that's the concern.
Well, when you planned, like I said, the planned reserves, that's why you set aside those reserves for those one-time capital items. So, but when you go into the general operating reserves for recurring expenses, that's where the risk is. So,
That's what we've done. That's what we're doing with the utility.
not with the, I'm not in the utility fund, that's a different issue. But
Okay.
yes, but that is operating reserve, which they don't have one because they're in a deficit. Yes, ma'am. But in the general fund, where I said the unassigned reserves in excess of 25%, we don't want to use those for recurring expenses. It should be just emergencies and one time and different things like that. However, the amounts that we're using is in excess of our 25%. It's nothing that we want to continue to do. That's why we're proposing to increase the millage.
Okay.
Okay? All right. So in regards to the utility operating fund, what we're proposing here in this budget request is an increase in the rates. In the budget that was presented to you in the workshop, we reflected a 10% increase. As I explained during that workshop, that was not adequate. It still left us with a like $5.6 million deficit just for that year. We already have a $3.5 million deficit going into 24-25, okay? So what we have here is a comparison of our existing rates compared to some of our peers in other cities and municipalities and the proposed rate. So we're still, at this point in time, not the highest. We're not higher than the city of Mount Dora, Oviedo, city of Sanford, and some of them, as I understand it, are proposing increases as well. So in that rate there is 40% increase on the water, 40% on the sewer, and 15% on reclaim. This is a chart where I'm sharing with you the deficit as we stand right now at the 5.6 and what it would take to cover that deficit. That's why we're proposing the 40% for water, 40% for wastewater, and 15% for reclaim. Okay. So overall, for the total budget, we're looking at a total, actually, when we factor the 1.5 for the street funds, I want to make that correction here, it's 201, 587, 851 for revenues and expenditures. In regards to the millage and the rollback calculations, as you can see, the 0.25 generates the 1.7 that we want to utilize for the firefighters union negotiations, and the going to another 0.25 or 0.5 increase in the millage rate generates the 1.5, which is additional funds that we want to transfer to the street funds. These are some additional calculations. Just wanted to share that with you in case you wanted to see what those incremental differences are if you choose to go higher than the 4.6876. Here's a comparison to some of the other cities. And Apopka at the 4.1876 and Apopka at the 4.6876. They're the two different odd colors other than the blue. We're still lower than the city of Ocoee, and I think they are proposing a 0.25 increase, if I'm correct, Jacob. So other cities are looking at increasing their millage rate as well. I wanted to share with you that comparison. So at this time, we're proposing the rollback rate to be the 3.8384 and the proposed millage rate of 4.6876. Any questions?
Any questions? This is just, we're just setting the millage tonight
Yes, sir.
with we have a final, I guess will be the last Wednesday of the month, the 20,
I couldn't understand.
we'll have to, the second reading will be the last Wednesday of the month.
No, we're setting it tonight. I have to
Right.
submit the information to Trim, and then we're coming back for a public hearing
Correct.
on the 4th with the budget.
Right.
And at this point in time, as mentioned by the attorney and myself, we can go down, but we can't go higher.
Right. Okay. Any questions?
Is there still an opportunity between now and, I mean, we'll set a millage rate tonight, but is there an opportunity until it is actually voted the second Wednesday of September, which I see here is the 18th, to still kind of go into the budget to adjust or ask for some things to be
Yes, we
cut
can,
away
but
from? Okay.
we can't change the millage rate.
Yeah, the only limit is we cannot increase.
Yeah.
Right.
We can't increase the millage rate.
I
Everything else
understand that.
below that, yeah.
Right, we can, but I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that we can
Right.
still go into the budget and say, you know, we don't need this right now and,
That'll be less use of
it's gonna be-
reserves.
Okay. That's all. I wanted to
Yes,
be able
ma'am.
to have that opportunity. Okay,
Yeah, we have two hearings, the 4th and the 2 weeks from there.
okay.
Okay.
Anybody else? All right. Anybody from the public wish to speak?
Everyone knew the workshops were coming up. The city set the workshop dates. The budget sheets and everything should have been advanced. They should have been done and ready days ahead of time so that they could have been prepared and available to the public. We still do not have them posted online. We don't have access to them. And I was just told a few minutes ago, because they're not ADA compliant. None of them were ADA compliant on the screen. When we looked at them from home, they were so tiny that they could not be read. When we're in here, these ones that were on the screen now, we have to have the logo up there, we have to have a title, and except this screen, I could not read them. Sitting right here. And I could not hear the speakers in here today. Again, the audio is bad. The meetings are not ADA compliant in here. So what's the excuse for not sending us an electronic version of the budgets? They could have been loaded. We could have downloaded them on our computers and we could have blown up the screens. Now, as far as the millage rate goes, if you can bring it down but you can't raise it up, go ahead and set it for 1.000. And then you can adjust and get what you want. When we look at the fact that we have 7 people, I believe it was, on the public service group, and they asked for one more supervisor that can get out there and break it up into 2 teams instead of 7 people standing out there for a 2-person job and the others are standing there watching them. It's not right. Maybe 4 people are needed to do the job and the other 3 are standing there watching them. I've driven by. I've seen it happen a couple of times. It is wasteful. But if you get one more person to come on as a supervisor or a crew leader, whatever they're calling them, they could break it up and they could be doing twice as much work out there. They've got 2 trucks. Come on, guys. So go ahead, set it at 1.0 and then bring it down to 0.6 or 0.5 or 0.55 once you find out what we need. But for goodness sakes, get that 1 extra crew leader so that 7 people aren't wasted on fixing 1 manhole. Let's use some common sense here. But do get us this information. We shouldn't have come here with no one in the city but you 5 people having the budget. That was a crime. That we could not get public documents to be able to give you input on the millage rate tonight. An absolute crime. Thank you.
Hello, Todd Banks in Stormway Court, City of Apopka. I've been hearing from some police officers, firefighters, citizens about going out to Kelly Park and look at the growth out there. So today, when I was coming back from Sanford, I actually did that and went out on the 429 and was pretty blown away with what I seen going on out there. There's literally an apartment complex that's grown out there, out of the ground, going up. So I drove from that apartment complex to Station 5, doing the speed limit, not using my stopwatch at the stoplights and such. And it took over 6 minutes. We got a problem. We got a problem going on. Such as with ISO, we have that problem. How is the tower truck going to get to those areas? We got a problem going on here. The next situation that when I stopped at Station 5, I seen a fire truck sitting there that had an engine 1 on it. So I asked them, I said, why is engine 1 there? And then they told me a story. I said, that can't be. So then I talked to somebody else. And sure enough, engine 5's broke. So they went and got engine 1 to go out there. And now there is no engine 1. Those firefighters went on the tower and the rescue. We don't have backup trucks. We have no backup trucks. We have a financial problem. The next fire chief, the next mayor, or if this mayor stays, we've got a problem going on here, a serious problem. We got to do something. It's just time to do your job, basically. I mean, like Bill Belichick says, you got to do your job. It's a hard thing sometimes financially. But we are digging a serious hole for the citizens here and for the future. Really, that's it. I just didn't know if you all knew that. I don't think the mayor knows that we're doing without a fire truck here, or the city manager, or you folks. It's just a situation we're in by being out of reserve fire trucks. Thank you.
Albert McKinney, 3603 Golden Gem Road. I would like to echo Todd's sentiments and other sentiments that when we come here, we have expectation of having correct information. We were left to come to budget meetings, and when we got here, we were listening to things that were presented, and it didn't make sense to me. Let me give you an example. If we look at the requirement for sewage, we were told that we will be able to be in compliance till 2035. We were told that we have permits for 16 million gallons of water. We were told that as of today, we use 10 million gallons of that allowance. So we have 6 million gallons to play with between now and 2035. But there's a problem, commissioners, because our public service director across there said to us that it's going to take at least 4 or 5 years to build a new sewage plant. Well, look at this. When we come here every month, we're given figures. The figures that we currently believe that are accurate are there are 12,000 new homes going to be going in between the next 5 or so years in the Kelly Park area. If we take 12,000 homes, 3 homes so 3 people per household, that's 36,000 people that we're going to add into this community of 56,000. That's 92,000 total people that we have. If you work it out with percentages, with what we currently have, what you're looking at is by 2029, we're going to reach 16.4 million gallons of capacity of sewage. It's pretty simple calculation. So the fact of the matter is, if we don't budget now for the design and implementation of new sewage, we're never going to reach 2035 because your own figures that come from planning tell you 12,000 homes, 36,000 people in the next 5 years. That means 16.4 million gallons that you're going to be at capacity by 2030. It's going to take 5 years to design and implement new sewage. We have serious problems. There's nothing in the budget to allow for that planning. So I don't know what you're going to do, and that's only the start of your problems.
Rod Olson, 3156 Rolling Hills Lane. Mayor, Commissioners, this is my rendition of the good, the bad, and the ugly of the 2025 budget. The good, 5 departments stated that the budget they presented would meet the city needs. The bad, 35% of our city assets are beyond the projected lifespan. And it doesn't appear that the budget has addressed known upcoming pay and benefit increases. Now, maybe modify that a little bit based on what just came up. The ugly, all but 5 departments did not present their real needs. One department presents 5 staff to oversee a dozen pickleball and tennis courts. 3 days is not enough time to make an informed decision. You commissioners received your packets, on the eve of the first meeting. It's not adequate time. Even if with the 40% increase discussed for utilities is implemented, it does not address required upgrades. Only a handful of residents showed up for the budget process. That's criminal. Any change in age, vesting, or COL allowance for the pension fund must be thoroughly researched. The current pension is at $7.4 million, and it's going to 9.6 based upon the preliminary findings. And it's not fully funded. A $20 an hour employee in Apopka retires at 55, currently would enjoy $1,115,000 in pension. We need to look at every line item and anything that you look at doing there. At this time, we should be setting the millage rate as high because it's easier to take it down. I'm not an attorney, but a neighbor pointed to me and said, if you look at Florida State Statute 200.065 2D states, quote, the tentatively adopted millage rate, if the tentatively adopted millage rate is greater than the proposed rate used for the trim notice, each taxpayer in the jurisdiction must receive notification of the increase by first-class mail at the taxing authority expense, which is not, we can't go up. A budget must be based upon what the people need in equipment, supplies, materials, personnel, And then you as commissioners need to find a way and look at it to ferret it out and come up with the rate should be. We've got to do a better job. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and guests. I am here tonight to ask for the adoption of a new museum of Apopka business model. The society waited until all the budget meetings were done to present this information because as we look at the budget meetings, there was no real budget line for the museum. There was $100,000 for some repairs, but we're beyond repairs. I sent a package to all of you. You had time to look at it. We're going to go a little bit over that, but I want to discuss these plans because we really need you, the commissioners and the mayor, to actually take pride in your history and your people. Under Maryland administration, we had the museum in the city budget and had 3 full-time employees, Nancy Blaylock, Diane Nenchik, and Francis White. Maryland was a founding member of the museum and the Historical Society. He understood from the beginning the importance of preserving our history and giving the community a place where they can learn about the people who came before them and help create the town we now all enjoy. At the museum, you'll find the history of Dr. Robert Williams, the first African American to attain a PhD in Apopka. At the museum, in the month of March, which is Women's History Month, you get to see the photos of our female commissioners and the First Lady of Apopka, the first Hispanic commissioner in our city, Mrs. Diane Velasquez, and now the first African American commissioner she will have the same privilege. This event inspires young women from our community to see what can be possible. At the museum, you will find 2 big bass fish donated in 1969 by our late friend of the museum, John Rickerson, well known as JR. These fish have light up the faces of children that came to their museum and do not have the privilege to experience fishing firsthand due to their socio-economic status. Thank you, JR, for leaving a legacy of smiles to the children in our community. At the museum, you will find the story of a young man in the early part of 1971 working at the bank in Apopka and giving a home loan to an African-American family, even though the city was not yet embracing the desegregation law of 1968. This young man was former Commissioner Bill Smith. And I can go on and on. I know we spend money in many things in this city. We weren't part of a facility assessment report. The city spent $36,000 of taxpayer money for this report when we actually knew the building we occupy right now has a termite problem and is very small. It also has 1/3 of the walls for the African American community, and there is no space to showcase the contributions of the Hispanic community in the town. It's okay, Susan.
Thank
I got
you.
it.
Appreciate it.
I want to speak a little more there.
No, that's good. We got plenty of speakers to come on.
No, I need to speak. I need to finish. I need to finish
No.
what I had to say. One moment.
We're done. You got your 4 minutes. You're good.
No, I want to have another 4 minutes. Can I come back and have another 4 minutes?
You're good. Thank you. We've got plenty more time. We got meetings in September. The budget gets completed. This is just setting the millage rate.
Okay. Well, since I don't get to speak any longer, I want you, the commissioners, to look at the paperwork that I sent you. I also want to thank the commissioners that give a donation for our 55-year anniversary. Thank you, Commissioner Smith, Diane, and Commissioner Nesta, the double the contributions. And I also want to ask Commissioner Anderson an invitation. I want to invite you to the museum so that you can see firsthand, since you now are sit on that chair. Thank you.
Leroy Bell, 2308 Blue Meadows Court. Before you guys set the millage, I want you to think about when it comes to the utility part of it. When you set it, think about the people over in South Apopka, how it's going to affect them. They don't have anything to do with the shortfall of the city and the shortcoming of this administration. If you remember when this administration first came in, this administration came in saying that there was no money. All the money was swallowed, gone away. Come to find out, that was a lie. The first two budgets that were passed, I think Commissioner Velasquez was on the passage of those two budgets. That was the ex-commissioner, the court leader, Representative Bankston, voted against it. He voted for $260,000 for this parking lot up here, instead of for trying to push South Apopka forward. So I'm asking you, when you set this millage, I don't understand why we got to dig in the reserve when we are charging fees for everything. Police department, $150 for a video. Now they went up to $600. Anytime you ask for public records, they jacked up the price. You're paying in the front and in the back. Why are you putting it pressure on the back of the citizen of Apopka? Now, even in the utility, we're setting the millage. What good that's going to do for the BMAP? No good. The mayor said that you're going to have to do something about that pretty soon. What about let's stop wasting money? Every time we turn around, there's something happening in the city, and you guys vote on something, it needs to be law. When you vote on it, let it stand. Still allowing this administration to go out and hire consulting firms to do just a waste of money. All these lawsuits. I know insurance paid, but the first $50,000, where do it come from? It comes from the city of Apopka because of the dereliction of duty of this mayor. Somebody needs to stand up and start looking out for the city of Apopka and stand up for the city of Apopka and stop this guy, because he's going to break the city of Apopka. And you can bring him like a jackass if you want.
Good evening, Alex Klepper, Apopka Professional Firefighters. I'm here to address concerns raised at the last budget workshop and millage rate meeting. Let me be clear. The city of Apopka does not need to raise the millage rate or our taxes because of our firefighters, full stop. I know I've previously addressed this issue with Commissioner Anderson. I appreciate you not adding to that conversation last week. The need to raise the millage rate or taxes is due to the entire budget, including competitive wage and benefit increases for general employees and the police department over the past 3 years. This includes a significant pay raise for Chief Wylam, his fleet of brand new F-150 take-home vehicles, as well as the mayor's salary adjustments and the future pension he's about to be eligible to take. Our firefighters haven't seen a paramedic pay increase since before some of them were even born. It's incredibly disheartening for them to know that they're the lowest paid employees in the city, while an intentionally misleading narrative by the guy who's supposed to have their backs suggests they're overpaid. We cannot continue to balance the budget on the backs of hardworking firefighters. The narrative from Mayor Nelson and Chief Wylam, brought up at the last meetings and in a Facebook thread, is based on a 2020 NFPA survey, which, mind you, only included 2,200 out of 30,000 fire departments. It excluded combination fire and EMS departments, which is what we are. This has no relation to what this department is. This is not a fair comparison. Nationally, 37% of fire departments do not provide EMS, 17 provide ALS service. And comparing us to cities like Kissimmee, which outsource the majority of their ALS services, is misleading at the very best. Do you think that the population of 89,000 residents in Kissimmee is served by 4 ambulances? You cannot believe that. Do you want us to, so our citizens are better served with our current model that we've always maintained. Lastly, gratitude. It must be easy to be full of gratitude when you're being paid competitively, when you have a brand new top-of-the-line take-home vehicle, and when you get to come up here and get away with lying about qualified inspectors performing all 2,000 property inspections in the city of Apopka, when you get to come up here and lie about how long it takes to receive a vehicle like Ambulance 3. The top secret surprise retirement ceremony was a perfect summation of the beleaguered run of our fire chief. You drug us through the dirt for 2 years. You came up here and you said, I want to fix this. It's my chance to make this right. And you did nothing but buy time until you could retire with your pension and sail off into the sunset. No plan for these guys, no plan for the future, no plan for succession. It's disgusting. In your email, you said you prayed about the decision. You prayed to collect a check. And you're a public servant that looked out for yourself first. That's your legacy. Maybe these men and women right here will have some gratitude when we stop blaming underpaid firefighters for poor management decisions. Maybe we'll have some gratitude when we quit letting career politicians place their shortcomings on the backs of the working class. And maybe we'll have some gratitude when the city meets and reaches an agreement with these firefighters who've been there for us in our times of need and continue to do so. Lastly, for the record, because I only have 4 minutes, I want to be clear. I don't stand to earn a single dime from that contract that I'm fighting for these guys. I am not part of that bargaining unit. I am fighting for them because it's the right thing to pay your employees a fair wage, which we decided to do for every city employee. We have to stop passing the buck and waiting for things that are never going to show up. Pay your firefighters, treat them with respect.
Jeff Tyler, 1120 Leg Drive, Apopka, Florida. First, I want to thank the men and women of the Fire Rescue Department and our police department for the job that they do every day. We ask a lot of them, and they've come up and they've asked during their budget workshops the needs that they have to have. I didn't know that there wasn't a fire truck at my neighborhood fire station today. That disturbs me, that it was out of service. That's unacceptable. People are asking for better things in our city. Roads, recreation, Rod's asking for soccer fields every time he comes up here. Public safety needs, better staffing. You have to address that with this millage increase. It's going to hurt, but we have to do it. Our city's growing. It's just like Todd was talking about those apartments. They're isolated on an island out there on Kelly Park Road right now, with a 6-minute response from Station 5, which didn't have a fire truck today, and a longer response for an aerial apparatus from downtown. We have to get in front of that. We have developers that came into this room tonight, and they're building out there like crazy. I'm sure they want some services for the developments that they're putting out there. A millage rate is more manageable for the common taxpayer in a one-time tax at the year, rather than a 40% increase in our water rates. They just increased last year. I don't see a bunch of taxpayers up here complaining about spending a little bit more in their taxes to have better services, to have roads, to have all the things that we just talked about. When the public services director gets up here and talked about during his workshop the needs that they have, it was incredible. When he puts a slide up there and says there's no funding for road improvements. Come on, we have to do better than this. You're our leaders, lead. Stop sitting there, let's lead.
Okay. So we're back to the proposed fiscal year 24-25 millage rate setting. I do need to share with you the notices for the various increases that we have incorporated in this budget. Will have to go out, and we will have the public hearings on the 4th. So I have to send those notices out regarding the 10% for sanitation, the 40% and 40% and 15% for water and wastewater, and the stormwater increase. But there will be public hearings on the 4th for those.
Lance, did you find out on the setting the millage, is it if we go up to the half mil, is it a unanimous vote?
It's 2/3.
2/3? Okay. All right, any other last questions for Lance before we look for a statement? Sorry about that. All right, we all good? Okay, well, I'll read the statement here. In accordance with the truth and millage, trim compliance requirements as set forth in Chapter 200 of Florida statutes, the city must set the proposed millage rate and advise the property appraiser of the proposed millage rate, rolled back rate, date, time, and place of the tentative budget hearings. The tentative budget hearing is scheduled for Wednesday, September 4th, 2024 at 5:15 p.m. in the City Council chambers. The statutes require separate motions. The operating millage rate used in preparation of the budget draft of 4.1876 is 22.12% higher than the rollback rate of 3.8384.
Mayor, I think she gave you should be the 4.6876. Yeah. This is 4.6876, which is 22.2.
Okay. All right, probably need to read it all over again.
Yeah, because I think these are the old ones.
Yeah.
Susan, that's the
4.1, it's 4.6.
no.
In accordance with the truth and millage trim compliance requirements as set forth in Chapter 200 of Florida statutes, the city must set the proposed millage rate and advise the property appraiser of the proposed millage rate, rollback rate, date, time, and place of the tentative budget hearing. The tentative budget hearing is scheduled for Wednesday, September 4th, 2024 at 5:15 p.m. in the City Council chambers. The statute requires separate motions. The operating millage rate used in preparation of the budget draft of 4.6876
Correct.
is 22.12% higher than the rollback rate of 3.8. That's not right either.
3.8.
Oh, the rollback rate of 3.8384.
Yes.
A mill is the tax rate for each $1,000 of taxable property value. I look
Yes.
for a motion to approve setting the millage rate for 2024 at 3.8384.
Let's start at the first motion needs to be the rollback rate. Okay, we need a motion for the proposed operating millage rollback rate of 3.8384.
I move that the rollback millage rate be 3.8384.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Now, the second motion, I need a motion for the proposed operating millage rate for FY '25 of 4.6876.
Okay, look for a motion to set the proposed operating millage rate in 2024 tax year at 4.6876.
Correct.
Before we do that, real quick, Mayor, I haven't heard your comments on us increasing the millage rate to this. What are your thoughts on this?
We'll look at it. I mean, we've got time to look at the budget. And I mean, I think there's some things we haven't put in the budget that we haven't added for additional negotiations with the union. We haven't added anything for the forensic audit, and we've about spent all the reserves down to the 25%. So I think we need to be sure we've sharpened our pencil and make sure that I think there's some things in there I probably wouldn't agree with on the additional expenditures. So, but at this point, we're just talking about the millage. So with that, look for a motion to set the proposed operating millage rate for 2024 tax year at 4.6876.
They go together. They just need separate motions.
What's that?
I say they go together. They just need separate motions.
Right, I know.
Yeah,
I'm
the
looking for
rollback is
somebody to
calculated based on that.
make the motion.
Commissioner Velasquez, what are your thoughts on this?
The 4.6 is half a mil. We've had some of our residents that said, why don't we go with the 1 point? At least we have from now until we actually vote for the budget, the final millage rate. It would give us an opportunity to kind of massage our budget and go over what we feel is not necessary and what we must have. And
The maximum rate with a 2/3 vote is 4.8399.
which one would it be?
0.8399.
4.8. I don't see the 8 there.
Look on the screen.
What?
Look on your screen.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, there it is. And that would require, okay, so that's 4.8399.
It would require a 2/3 vote.
Mm. And what would be the next one would be 4 point, and that's 1 mil, if I'm not mistaken, right? 1 mil?
Which one? The 4.8?
mil, right?
No, that's not 1 mil. That's less than 1 mil compared to the 4.18. It's a differential between the 4.18 and the 4.83.
And it would give us an additional revenue of,
Another million. If you take the difference between the 3.4 and the 4.4.
So I'd give a buffer for the extras.
You want to see how you compare? To go into the 4.83.
and we would be allocating 1.5 towards streets, but we would still be operating in a deficit.
Not with streets. That's just giving them additional money to continue the road resurfacing program and the sidewalk program. That's what the additional 1.5 is that Commissioner Smith recommended. And the 1.7 is designated for help with the negotiations with the firefighters union.
Well, Commissioner Smith, can I ask for your input? Because you recommended.
I recommended the 4.6876
Mhm.
because I felt we definitely need to put some more money in the streets. And so I thought we need that additional funding. That's why I made that recommendation based on the budget hearings that we had.
So now when the mayor is saying that we still have not um, allocated anything for when we finally settle the union, what are you expecting? Um,
Like, what was the last offer? Last offer was over 2 million.
Well, with the additional changes, that 1.7 and the additional request that came from the commissioners, we're looking at a total of 2 million for the union negotiations. Commissioner Nestor asked that we bring that up to 2 million, so we got another 289,000 coming out of reserves. So this actually includes 2 million in regards to those negotiations, plus the additional 5%. See if I can find that one.
And,
The
and what
additional 5.
and what did we give the general employees and fire?
It
You remember?
from the numbers that I saw.
Yeah.
It was like an average of 5 point something percent.
No, I meant no. I know we gave the police a bump last year. I
Oh,
think
the
it was
police came with a
9.5%.
bump
That was
with 6%, and then I think they came and got another
nine
9
and
or
a half.
something on
What
that.
was that?
Yeah,
Was it like 700,000?
almost a million, 900 and some thousand. Yes,
And then the general employees
out of the
1.7.
out of the 1.7, yeah, the general employees probably is a portion of that, and police has a portion of that as well.
So 1.7 plus the 900,000.
Yes.
So 2.6 million is what everybody minus the union
Firefighters, yes.
the union got, because the fire admin got raises as well.
That's my understanding. I
Yeah,
guess they got their
okay.
normal raises.
Okay.
So to confirm, though, the police and general employees had consistent increases regardless of up to 6%. We matched whatever the market was doing. So it could have been, I mean, there were some department heads that got 40% raises, 30% raises.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not comparing apples to apples when we talk about general and police because fire has been behind. Is that accurate?
I just know that those were we did some adjustments that you approved for the salary adjustments based on market.
Sure.
And those numbers came to the 1.6, including police. It did not include fire. And the police did have an additional increase, and that equated to almost $1 million.
Sure. So everybody but fire is based on market.
Yes, they were not
And
adjusted.
fire's below market.
I don't know where they stand in
But
comparison
we
to the
didn't
market
adjust
because
them
they
to
were not a
market in
part.
any capacity.
Right, they were not a part of the study.
Correct. So that's the true narrative of this. We can act like it's a one-time big lump sum that the fire department's asking for, but in reality, they have not kept up with the market, and we've not allowed them to stay up with the market. So we can keep saying they're costing us $2 million off the bat, but that's just to get to average. We're trying to get to average.
Okay. So again, the proposal.
And the 6% merit increase is included in his budget.
Yes.
We do an average of a 5, but yeah, they could go up to 6. Yes, it is.
And the union's still been getting the 5%.
Yes,
Or
sir.
6.
It-
I think they've been averaging over 5%.
Yeah,
So
you
they've
can
been
go
getting,
over.
even though they were in negotiations, they haven't not gotten raises. It's just they've not gotten.
That's my understanding.
Yes. Okay.
Raises from a below market rate.
And in this budget, we don't even have, which is another concern that I had, is because we had Emerson Park here, who was asking us to kind of somehow,
I think we discussed that during your briefing.
yes, at the
and
$3 million in order to bring their streets up to city standard before we take it over.
yeah, they're
That was
required to do
something
that.
The mayor had kind of offered them some kind of, I don't want to,
It's a loan,
it's a loan.
so which we get interest on.
Yeah, and I think the attorney explained at that time that that's
Right.
Can't-
I don't know.
not possible.
Where's our attorney, Cliff Shepherd, regarding the $3 million loan with Emerson Park for the city streets. Is that possible?
It's not a city street. It's a private owned street.
I mean, they're going to become our street though.
But we can't, I'm gonna let the attorney talk.
What, when you say, is it possible, what do you mean?
I don't, is that something we can do?
Make a loan to a private entity?
Yeah,
We're not a bank.
okay. And that's a concern because they're expecting to come here the second meeting of August with some expectation that somehow they're going to get $3 million to fix their streets.
There are ways to fund through special taxing districts and things of that nature where they're assessed over time to people to map it out. There may be a way, I don't know. I've seen before where a private entity can use our bonding rates. Do not know that they qualify, but I do know that I've seen that happen. But at the end of the day, we're not a bank.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, should we not accept the 4.6876 millage tonight and decide to go to whatever that maximum was,
That was the top.
the
That was the top line.
4.8399? So do you have to go back to the drawing board again?
No, I'll just submit the forms at the 4.8399.
What does that work out to a homeowner at the end?
I did not calculate that, but I did calculate the 4.68, and remember I shared
And what was that
about 375,000.
a year?
I mean $375. Do not say thousand.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
$375 per household, based on the median value per year.
Okay.
Now remember, it's like $31.25 per month for the 4.6876.
And I'm just going to interject here for a second as the administrator. We do need to set a millage rate tonight. And a few minutes to do so.
Commissioner Smith, did you have a motion there?
No, I'm just asking the question,
Okay,
what was
okay.
the effect of?
Okay.
The rollback rate that I have presented here is based on that 4.6876. It's a calculation.
So there's a different rollback if we go higher?
I'm hoping not. But on the form, it says the highest we can go with these rates here is the 4.8399. And it required a 2/3 vote. So it should not be.
Any increase requires 2/3.
Well, based on the
Because
calculation,
yeah.
this was, yeah, because even like if you're going down at the 4.399, it just said majority vote.
Right.
Mhm.
So let me understand this. The rollback rate of 3.8384 would be the same if we went to 4.8399.
It should be.
It should be.
I have to confirm, but it should be.
Okay.
So we can move to do the 4.6876 or the 4.8399.
I'll need, if we go to the higher rate, I need to reread the whole. I'll need to reread the whole.
Yeah.
We don't, we need
Yeah,
to
you gotta go
recalculate
back,
too.
yeah.
We don't have the calculation for the.
Yeah, because we started with the 4.6876 at 22.12% higher.
But it won't be, it'll be more than that.
Yes, sir, it would
So
be.
we need to, I mean, depending on what y'all want to do, if we go to a higher rate, she's gonna need to calculate that. I'm looking for somebody to give me some direction here.
Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Lester, and I guess I'm gonna tap on you if you have any input. You have been asked to.
I do understand that we're just setting the rate right now. My concern is the senior citizens that have reached out to me that only receive a 3% cost of living increase every year. So we have to keep that in mind because $50 is not a lot to some of us per month. Added to our bill of $30 for some people, it's the cost of
It's a
eating.
lot.
So I want us to keep that in mind. We're actually setting this rate that we do have people that are on set rates, that are on Social Security, that are seniors, that are retirees, that income is set. So.
All right, it's 7 o'clock, folks. We need to, this is,
I mean, we do have the opportunity to refine the budget further if we go with the 4.6876
I'm okay.
as planned, as mentioned. But again, as I stated before, I will be sending out the letters in regards to the rate increases because I have to. And the public hearings will be on the 4th.
I don't know if this will help, but I'm going to try. If you think you're going to need more money, go to the 4.8399 rate. If you don't think you're going to need more money based on the budget that is tentative now, the rate and calculations that you have in front of you are the rate you should use. This is not the time to do calculations on the fly. If you need more money, go higher. If you don't think you need more money, you're good. You can always go down by cutting things out of the budget.
I move that we set the millage rate at 4.8399.
can you calculate it?
Yes, and that is increase of 26.09 over the rollback rate of 3.8384.
Okay, all right. In accordance with the truth and millage trim compliance requirements as set forth in Chapter 200 of the Florida statutes, the city must set the proposed millage rate and advise the property appraiser of the proposed millage rate, rollback rate, date, time, and place of the tentative budget hearing. The tentative budget hearing is scheduled for Wednesday, September 4th, 2024 at 5:15 p.m. in the City Council chambers. The statute requires separate motions. The operating millage rate used in preparation of the budget is 4.8399, which is a 26.09% higher than the rollback rate of 3.8384. Mill is the tax rate for each $1,000 of taxable property value. Okay, I need a motion to set the proposed operating millage rate for 2024 at 3.
That's the rollback rate.
Rollback rate
Mm-hmm.
of 3.8384.
We did that.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Now I need a motion to set the proposed operating millage rate for the 2024 tax year at 4.8399.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right, we'll take,
We got a third motion. We got to set the meeting.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Motion number 3, move to set the date, time, and place for the public hearing on the tentative budget for fiscal year 24-25 as Wednesday, September 4th, 2024 at 5:15 p.m. in the City Hall Council chamber. And with that,
Thank you.
we'll take a 5-minute
No, they need to vote. They got to vote on it.
vote. Okay, on the, oh yes. Motion to, motion to set the date.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez. Second by Commissioner Anderson. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries now. All right, 10 minutes. We'll be back.
Thank you.
10 or 5?